Look what you did, you little jerk!
What's going on, Jerk Faces? Welcome to another episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast remote edition. As always, we got lovely Andy over there, and we got myself, Robert,
Lovely
and
Andy.
and returning guest, one of our great friends that we love to have on, talk to all the time, Matt Wade. And welcome back to the podcast,
Hey everyone.
man. Good.
How's it going? Good to see you all again.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
So how's everything? Obviously, we haven't had you on in a little while. How's everything going on with
See, I'm on a corona-cation, you know?
Yeah, I see
I'm
that.
on a corona-cation, just staying home. Luckily I can work from home. Most of my duties can be done through, mobile. So just the wife and I are spending a lot of time at home, cooking at home, hanging out with the dogs. Been reading a lot of Bible, been playing a lot of guitar. Trying to make good use of my time. Actually, to tell you the truth, I've been loving it. I've been thriving. I know it's not something that can be maintained forever with our economy, but it's been quite interesting to see how this just was an unstoppable thing that everybody just had to literally succumb to in one way or another, whether through sickness or through furlough or through extra work even, and through fear of being infected in your work environment. But it's quite a shakeup of who's in charge, or who's really in charge.
Yeah.
Things
Based off your description, it's almost like you're on like some sort of like mini church retreat almost. Although it's you and your wife, but you're spending time playing guitar, reading the Bible, kind of you're in seclusion away, but it's been something that's obviously God's thing to kind of refresh you in a lot of ways. I see like a lot of like a brightness to you, Matt. It's great.
Yeah, I feel very rested and at peace and full of spirit. Almost like, what do I do next, God? But I'm very much at peace. I feel very much like in the stream, in the proper stream. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I guess like if in a similar way, I'm working more than normal, which is fine for me. I don't mind. But I also like I said, I'm not it's working in a hospital. I'm not a doctor or a nurse or anything like that. But I'm doing something that is something people need right now. People they get their food supplies, their whatever home supplies that they need. And obviously, people are ordering a lot through the mail, and that's where my job comes in, and we're delivering a lot of stuff. We're getting just like Christmas time level amount of packages coming in. It's crazy, and a lot of people, and with some of our older staff staying home, because they don't want to. There's some concern that the older you get, you're more susceptible to this virus. But it's a lot of extra work for everyone, and I can tell a lot of people are very strained. I mean, I am too, but I kind of see it as a way where it's an opportunity where I'm helping people. God's put me in this opportunity where there's a lot of people not working that aren't are really hurting right now, and not only do I have a job, I'm getting paid pretty well, and I'm getting a lot of extra time, and I'm doing something that is helping people.
Right.
So so it's like I could look at all the negatives. I could be negative and like only think about myself, but I kind of think that's not the right way to view things. And I see like this is kind of like my way to serve people. So even though like I'm doing it in the background, I'm not looking for the whole like pat myself on the back. I don't care about any of that, but knowing that I'm helping people in some small way is I feel like I'm serving God in a great way.
Oh, you sure are. Even if it's just bringing common grace to common folk, that's still God's sovereignty, and that's
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. No, it's quite a privilege. I mean, even our mobile shower ministry, where we provide hot showers and some meals for some homeless. It's been kind of an uptick in guests because with the closure of gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
Oh.
people.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of guests who are homeless, but they live in their cars. So you
Right.
can imagine you have a place to sleep, you have a bed, you have somewhat what you can call shelter, but you don't have a shower. So if you have a $10 a month membership to Planet Fitness, there's your shower every day. Go in the gym, take a hot shower, maybe work out a little bit. You know, a couple times a day you could take a shower. And there's your shower, but they close the gyms, they close the showers. They close the YMCA, they close the showers. You know, and so a lot of charities are closed up for even meal services and food services because they just can't do it safely. But luckily, we're not overcrowded with guests, so the guests that we can serve are complying and distancing, so we're allowed to still serve them, but you know they're staying apart, and we've changed the way we do things to be safer. You know, but it's still it's quite a privilege to be able to have that ministry going on and have it be called essential by the city so that we can still do this because it is a need. You know, it is a need, and like you said, it's humbling to be kind of in that mode where you're serving in a tough spot where other people aren't, but you're doing it because it's needed and you can feel God's will on you.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, like where especially where I'm working, it's not exactly, we're doing our best with, kind of, to stick to those guidelines and stuff. But there's really not a lot that we can do, and still get the job done. And so it's, yeah, obviously I have the, gloves. I always wear gloves anyways, but now you got the face mask and all that
Yeah,
too.
but you're at a fair amount of risk, actually. You know, so
Yeah, it's, my thing is like, let's get this done as quickly as possible so that we can be done, you know, early if not on time, and then we can all go home. We can all get out of here. Um,
well, yeah.
that's kind of my mindset.
There's a lot of people actually reevaluating the whole approach to this pandemic with it, you know, in
Right.
regards to what they shut down and what they, you know, they're weighing it out, and it's almost to the point where the the cure is worse than the illness. You know,
Well, yeah, and I think it
numbers
right
are
now.
not really that drastic compared to, you know, you just gotta weigh it out. I mean, we've gone through things where people die of flu, and I know this is different, and we have to do this for a certain amount of time. But you got to get to a point where you can just maybe just make a decision. And I understand where they're coming from. Maybe test everybody, find out who has it. If you have it, maybe you're the ones quarantined, and everybody else can go back to normal. As opposed to everybody who's safe be quarantined. I don't know. We don't. I don't know. I mean,
I
it's
think
life.
like
You have to.
as a country, like I think we're at a point. It's okay. Like we're gonna take this time. We're gonna follow, for the safety of our fellow countrymen. All right, we're gonna do this. But at some point, there's gonna come a point where you have to have a plan. And I think if it comes, if this thing goes until June, July, it's gonna start getting a little crazy. But for now, like we just gotta stick with this, do our best, and hopefully, um, this is gonna. I think there's, and you've been talking about this. There might actually be some good that comes out of all this. And I have my ideas, but I know you've been kind of chomping at the bit to share your kind of ideas on what you think has been, what positives that we can take out of it. Because obviously, all we're hearing on the news and from the media, and Andy and I have talked about this exhaustively. Is, we're tired of the media and the negativity and the scare tactics. We're not really hearing, like, what good can be taken out of it. Like, what are the positives? And so I think this is a. I'm glad that we're going to be talking about this.
Yeah, I guess you could call them side effects even.
Yeah.
Okay, you shut everything down. Okay, you shut a lot of good down. You shut a lot of businesses down, but you also shut down a lot of bad. All the strip clubs are closed. All the casinos are closed. All the strip clubs / casinos in Vegas are closed. The bars are closed. Nightclubs, other places of massage parlors, other places of just real fornication and sin and loss of money and loss of life are shut down. So people with certain addictions are really just without their supply. The borders are shut down in a certain way to make it hard for drugs to come up from the south.
Yeah.
Men are forced to stay home with their families more now. They're probably having a hard time cheating on their wives. There's probably
I saw
a lot less singles sleeping with each other because they just can't get out and about to meet up.
Yeah, I heard about this article that this woman wrote. Yeah, I saw this video of someone else was commenting on it, but there was a writer from I think the Guardian, and they wrote an article about how thanks to quarantine, the world has become like more wholesome, and just like the examples that you gave about how people are spending time with their families more, and because of because of hotels being closed or being repurposed, and bars and restaurants being closed, like now it's like couples, like if they were the sort to be cheating on each other, are now having to kind of spend time with each other, and maybe even re-engage, and maybe even potentially fall in love again. And so I think I don't know if it was explicitly the point of this article that this person wrote, but I'm probably not to laud the effects of the quarantine, but kind of like pointing out, it's like, hey, this we're becoming a lot more like wholesome. We're spending more time with family and our children, and I think someone even, I don't know if it was a joke, but they're like saying like this could cause the next baby boom, because couples are corona babies, because because couples aren't having to spend so much time together. It's like they might
you're bored, you're around, it's like
you're with your wife, or or you're with your husband, and so it's like gotta do something. So this might spark this might be the cause for the next great baby boom.
I mean, if people don't really see God's sovereignty in this, I don't know how you will. It's just, it's a shakeup. This is a major sifting. Things won't be the same after this. They'll go back.
Yeah,
it will be forever. It will be forever different.
Well, yeah, 'cause even not even just like some societal stuff, like the way we interact with each other, it might it's not going to be 100% the way it used to be. Like even at the grocery store, they have like those plastic shields up. I doubt that they're going to take them down. And like the use of like gloves, and even like the use of gloves, I think that's going to be more and more of a common thing.
Well, I think maybe people will wash their hands more and just more hand sanitizer all around. Maybe we'll just get sick less in general. We'll just be more clean, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, there's been so many of these, hand washing like seminars. Like, how do you guys not know how to wash your hands? Like, it's like I've been doing this forever. Like, and it's like, well, it's like, and it's not like people are like, oh, here we go again. Already know we're not that dumb. It's like, but people are actually, oh, it's like that's the thing that scares me, is people are going, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can transmit germs that have been sort of shut down, and people are sort of thinking twice about, like, maybe I'm not gonna pass that, or share that drink, or share that bottle, or put my mouth on something that somebody else is,
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of sad, to tell you the truth. I miss hugs. I miss hugs like crazy.
Yeah, me too.
I miss church brothers and sisters. I miss my jiu-jitsu training partners. I'm thinking next time I roll, I might just give up my back so I can feel somebody hug me. Like I really miss just affection. I really do. And
Right. I think
really,
yeah. I think I'm with you there. I hope the desire to show affection doesn't change. Our drive to show affection, because in the Bible, it's like even Jesus said, embrace your brothers, and
with a
greet them
holy
with
kiss.
greet them with a holy kiss, and
I know that's been
and I'm not
my
I'm not
wife
saying
says
that
something
our
really
church,
sweet.
it's not like our church, does like the second part of that, but we do, we do embrace, we do hug each other, we do show affection,
Yeah.
and
My wife
and if we, I think if we lost that, it'd be, I think we'd be losing one of the greatest, parts of being a human being is, that connection, physical connection.
I agree. I noticed that people are already a little bit weirded out about a lot of affection these days anyway. I mean, I came into that church not too long ago, a few months ago, very huggy, very affectionate, and some people liked it, some people didn't, and it's okay. But no, my wife had some kind of interesting little concept. She thought that she imagined that the day that everybody could be kind of tested and be clear, like, "Oh, are you clear? I'm clear. You're clear. Oh, hug, clear. You're clear. I'm clear. We're free to hug." Like.
Yeah. It is gonna be a giant celebration finally all over. 'Cause I mean, it's been 2 months maybe or so, like maybe longer than that, and people are going.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, because we were first,
having-
it was first starting to get crazy, like towards the end of January.
Yeah.
But it didn't really swell until kind of the tail end of March.
Yeah. My wife was visiting her sister in Connecticut at the end of February. And they said, "Oh, we're going to take a day trip to New York City." I said, "You are not." And she said, "Well, why? What's wrong?" I said, "Don't you dare go to the biggest city in the country during a deadly viral outbreak. Come to find out later, it was good advice."
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're lucky. We're cool. We've been home. We're safe. But like you said, I think there will be a huge celebration when this thing is over. Because fact is, it will be over someday. All those major diseases have all disappeared eventually. Even SARS, we went through it. 20,000 Americans, something like that, died with the SARS, and then that's gone, dead and gone. We went back to normal life after that. So we will go back to normal life after this. And the crazy thing, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, Robert. Remember Trump, "Make America Great Again"? Now it's going to be "Make America Great Again, Again."
Yeah.
So now it's MAGA.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
I mean, this guy's going to have an opportunity to show that he can save the country not once but twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with this thing going on, I think it's just I think it's it's just showing how good of a leader Trump actually is. It's just from his his Corona task force and him like deferring to experts, like during like the press conferences, like when they ask him medical questions, he doesn't try to field them. He just says, "Oh, hold on, let me bring out this expert here," and so it shows that he's able to what's the word I'm looking for? Delegate responsibilities, and really being an effective leader.
But I noticed something else very clever with those maneuvers. He is avoiding anything that can be caught on video of him saying something that can be twisted and worded wrong, like 200,000 dead, for some kind of campaign video or some kind of just clip against Trump. Anything that questioned that the answer was going to be very, very thorny, he'd say, "Come on in, Fauci, you tell him. Burks, you tell him." Because they didn't want to get Trump on camera saying 200,000 deaths. It's just very smart.
No, yeah.
He avoided all those captures, those video captures of like him saying something that could be twisted wrong, or like, why don't you wear a mask? Can you imagine the fallout of just propaganda-wise of Trump in a mask?
Oh God,
How
yeah.
that would
Oh,
be misused and meaned like crazy.
right. It'd be like fear mongering or.
Kings and queens don't wear masks.
Yeah. It's
Mask, that'd be great.
well, it kind of reminds
They
me
should sell
back
MAGA masks. Oh, I'm sorry. Back normal.
but it kind of reminds me of back in the I think it was like the '80s with Gorbachev and Reagan, where Reagan's meeting him, and it's like it's cold. I mean it's snowing, it's cold, and
Oh, right. He
instead of
met him without his
big
coat.
husky jacket, he just Reagan just strolls out like oh it's brisk, okay, it kind of shows him. And it's like, and it makes the other people look weak, and I think that's kind of like what Trump is doing himself. It's like he has to show that strength, and in a lot of ways he is, he's providing some sort of like, hey, listen, it's serious, we're taking it seriously, but I'm also not gonna we're not gonna be destitute. We are strong. We're gonna be strong together. We're gonna get through this, and he's giving people hope. And I mean, despite all the efforts of people wanting to just wallow and we're try to fustigate it, the whole situation and keep people you know uh, you know in fear. It's kind of good to see there is someone in as being the president is promoting that that hope and strength.
Oh yeah, well he tweeted out Jim Acosta the other day.
Oh, it was great.
It was scaring people for causing panic for that exact thing. Said, hey, come on, cut it out,
Yeah, it's like if you want fear and panic, I'll make you look like a minor league player, but I'm not going to do that because that's not the good thing. That's not the good thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
It's been an incredible demonstration of leadership, and then Mr. Pence has really stepped up too.
Yeah,
he could be a good formidable candidate in 2024.
I think so. Yeah,
he has that presidential swag.
Right. I think low key, Trump is setting him up for a presidential run.
Right, and did you see? You know who Samaritan's Purse is? Is like Franklin Graham's?
Yeah. Franklin Graham's thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the hospitals they built
in Central Park?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And they were interviewing Franklin Graham, and he's on Fox and gospel. Jesus Christ died to save our sins. And then another guy from the same interviewed him to talk about the hospital, and he just would give the gospel. Jesus Christ died for our sins. Jesus Christ loved us. And I'm like, yes. He knows. Amazing opportunity to.
Oh yeah, it was the My Pillow guy that Mike Lindell that was at Rose Garden when he was saying that he turned 75% of his business over into creating masks to help out the Americans and healthcare workers, and then he started talking about the gospel and how this is kind of like what you've been saying, Matt. Is like this is something that a time for us to turn back to God, turn to the Bible, and kind of get ourselves right.
Yes. Apparently, a lot of Bibles have been sold in the last month, so people are seeking faith in the midst of this crisis, and people maybe are coming to terms with death, meaning of life.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting way that God's sovereignty really is shaking things up. I mean, a very smart Christian theologian said that there are no rogue molecules. So if you can imagine the sovereignty of God to the point where even a coronavirus molecule going through the air as God's anointing for his will. So if you can really accept that and find the peace in that and know where you are, we live in temporal bodies, but we are spiritual beings, and we will live forever. All of us will live forever. Some in a place more comfortable than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, a more temperate climate. more temperate climate than others.
Eternity is a reality. Eternity is a reality. You can't run away from it. And you will either find peace in it or damnation. But I find a tremendous amount of peace in what's going on here. I see God's will working, and how do you know God's will? You read the Scripture. He gave it to us. He revealed His will to us in His Scriptures. If you read His Scriptures, you see what's going on. Your perspective widens and widens and widens and widens, and you get to really understand what God is doing and why. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and I think a lot of people have succumbed to that fear, and they're looking for meaning, and they're finding God or looking for God. So, as many people might die from coronavirus, how many may be saved spiritually? How many abortions may be averted? I dare to say that maybe more may be saved through this virus outbreak than will be lost. And that's a bold statement, but I truly feel that that's where my heart is leading to. If you can see God's sovereignty on it. But,
and that's always been something how I've been a Christian for a long time now. I think about it. It's been almost 20 years. Yeah, I think this is 20 years now. But becoming a Christian, kind of seeing that truth, and as I studied the Bible more, I mean, I'm a Bible nerd, so I read theology for fun. I'm always doing stuff like that. But
doing Star Wars and Star Trek all combined.
Yeah, it's exactly. And when there's a term that Andy and I use quite a bit, but it helps you see through the wizardry that's out there. Just all the smoke and mirrors and the BS that's out there, and you start to it's almost like you're kind of like seeing things in a different perspective, where you're almost like outside of everything. It's like, what? Yeah, it's kind of like a weird. I'm not always there, but like for the most part, like I'm there. It's like, whoa, it's like, and so I don't have a whole lot of fear and anxiety when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I mean, obviously, like, there's times where I'm in situations where, yes, I do have some anxiety and stress and fear, but it's just, you have to refocus and focus on what's.
You have to push through that. You have to push through that. You're not supposed to give in to anxiety and fear. The Lord said, "Let not your heart be troubled." That I take that as a command.
Yeah.
He's not giving us a suggestion. Hey, like, don't be troubled. We say, "Hey, let not your heart be troubled, yo." And so, if I feel anxious or stressed, I push through that, man. You gotta find that peace, because it's sinful to rest in that anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked this up myself, but I've been told that in the Bible it says, it says like, don't be afraid or fear not, or 365 times in the Bible, and that's for us, and that's for us, for every day to not. That's how many days that we are not to be filled with fear. It's like we are not to be afraid every day. We are not to have fear every day.
Right. Every day.
Because God has everything. If God is God, then He has everything in His hand. From like, as Matt, like as you said, from every gust of wind to every coronavirus molecule, God God has it. So we shouldn't be afraid.
If you have fear, essentially you are doubting the goodness of God.
Yeah.
You are doubting
that
He is all. So fear must be from the devil. It's a lie. There's no reason to fear. If you succumb to fear and you're trembling and you're hiding, you're letting Satan win. That's it. Bottom line. There are times of tribulation and struggles and testings. Oh boy, testings. And what do testings do? They build character and they strengthen our faith. And what does Paul say? That we should be joyful to welcome testings because they are only there to strengthen our faith and to remind you that you are in the right place. So
yeah, it's like I said, it's being in fear, and there's a lot of people who are fearful all the time, and you're trapped. You're caught in chains, in bondage to things that it's like you can't ever get over it. But you're trapped. But when you finally let that go, and just kind of it's almost like you can breathe.
I'm sorry. Could you say again? It's almost like what?
I was saying it's like, but it's like there's freedom when you don't when you kind of give that up. It's almost like you can breathe again. You're not trapped in these chains of just of bondage. That's all that is.
I have never felt more free than I have the last 9 months. And you could maybe do a whole other thing on my testimony, but I'm 48 years old and I was saved earlier, mid last year. Okay. I was aware of, I was born a Catholic, but I did not have God in my heart and have transformation until May, June last year. And I can tell you the difference because I was a sinner. I have so many stories of bondages and addictions. And it's the contrast, brothers. The contrast proves to me the difference. I'm in a little Pauly kind of thing where I'm the last person that would really be a true holy man because I was in such disgusting sin. And the transformation, how my tastes have changed, is just such a testimony to God's grace. And it's confirmation to me that I know I've been changed because I am just a different person.
Like I said, I can see just the brightness that you have, Matt. Like I've known you for a couple of years now, and you look different. It's and a good.
Yeah, I feel completely different, and it's done great wonders for my marriage. I've helped. I'm leading my wife to Christ. We're doing home Bible studies now that we're not able to go to church. We're doing home Bible studies together that I'm leading.
Oh,
and
nice.
I mean, I even started off our last Bible study with a worship song that I wrote. And it's like, what?
Nice.
Here? What is going on in this house? So it's just, yeah, what it's done to our marriage, what it's done for me, what it's done for my wife. My wife was there last week. Last couple of weeks, she's been there at the mobile shower serving with us. She doesn't like to get up early, but I couldn't stop her.
That's great.
Wow. Yeah.
So she's changing too, and
yeah, that's very edifying to hear.
Yeah, we're becoming very aware of. I mean, we know we're sinners. We always will be sinners, but we're not slaves to our sin, and we're becoming really aware of what our temptations are and what our fleshly things are and what our spiritual things are. And we'll always be, until we become redeemed and restored, we'll always be somewhat attached, as Paul says, to this dead body of sin, this body of flesh. And so we'll always be battling fleshly desires and fleshly things and fleshly pains and fleshly pleasures. But, you got to, keep your mind on the spiritual heart that's inside you and keep a focus on where our destiny is. Keep your mind on the things of the kingdom and not of the world. And honestly, man, my life has been the smoothest it's ever been. I've even had little trials here and there, and we've gone through things, but the victory over those trials has been magnificent. So I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm just really trusting in God. I feel like I'm in His hands. He leads me daily through lessons and learnings, revelations and illuminations, and I'm very, very happy. But I have a very wide vision on this whole Corona thing, and it kind of contributes to my feeling that I've been having for the last few months that, as you see in the Bible, describes like the beginning of birth pains. When they describe the end times coming, that you can see the changing of the leaves on the fig tree, and you know that summer is coming. Not that the time is now, but that it's coming. Like birth pains, the baby's not coming now, but it's the start of it. And so I truly feel that those kind of things are happening. You know, like you know, like pardon me here, but like Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. I mean, you can just go through the list and check them off. Earthquakes, you know, Japan, Thailand, big tsunami not that long ago. Pestilence, that's plagues, virus, earthquakes, wars, rumors of wars. Not just any wars, but how about Russia and Saudi Arabia kind of going like this? So
Oh,
it's
yeah,
kind of like
it's
things
kind of
are
like stuff is
blowing
rugged.
up, you know?
Yeah, it's like maybe not war, but that's definitely.
Yeah, rumors of
It's
war.
a burgeoning conflict. It's a burgeoning conflict.
Yeah, I definitely
But
think that ramping up towards the end. Not now. I mean, obviously, if you know your biblical timeline, you know certain things have to happen. The man of lawlessness has to be revealed. But I really feel like we're approaching this. I think things are being set up geopolitically that kind of end time prophecy can actually manifest, where you will have a man who can save the world with a peaceful treaty between Israel and their enemies. And you will have
yeah,
a spiritual guide who might be like a pope or something. You know, we're
the
getting there. We're really getting there. And the RFID chips in your hand, that could be the mark of the beast. Pay for your, you know, I mean, we are getting, we are getting there. So
yeah, you brought up well, there's a couple points there that I wanted to talk about it, and with the whole, especially with like the whole end times thing, because
yeah,
there's a lot of people who are skeptical, but even I'm just talking about the Christian community on this, where it's like, oh come on, like they've been they've been talking about this since Christ ascended, that like, oh, the end times are near, all this stuff, and it's like, well, yeah, you have to also understand like how they were writing about it, like, because they're not seeing things in that moment, like in their lifetime. What they're seeing things in a way, they're seeing it that way that God sees it.
yeah,
Paul's not talking oh, Paul, like the man. It's just it's Paul seeing things through God's eyes. And obviously John, in writing Revelation, he's being shown something that is not of this world. And so when they talk about like oh, the end times are near, we it's on its way, it's happening, all this stuff, it's like, yeah, they're not talking about like necessarily right this second, but it's more of they're seeing the timeline how God sees it, where it's like it's the beginning and the end, it's all kind of like one slice of, they're seeing the whole loaf of bread
yeah.
almost, and it's like it's like it's coming, guys, and that's why every generation you have people saying it's like, oh, it's the end times, it's here, and it's like no, it's not. But yeah, we have to be ready. We have to be
Right.
vigilant,
Let me,
and it
yeah.
and it spurns us to share the gospel. That's kind of the whole point of that. It's don't wait when we can share the gospel today.
Okay, so all those guys from the Bible times, around Paul's time, when he said the end is near, where are they now? They're dead, right?
Yeah,
Their end came.
yeah.
What did they decide? Salvation or damnation? So
Well,
when people
right.
say the end is near, everyone's end is near. And after you die, it's too late.
That's right.
So you yeah. So there's something true about running around saying repent now the end is near. You can die in a car accident, and if you're not right with God,
Well, like I said, because I think people are like looking at like this great big event. Yeah, they're looking for that big end time event. They're not thinking about like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm only gonna live this amount of time.
It's
And
Jesus. It's Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. But it spurns us. It's not fear tactics. It's spurning us to share the gospel because our time on this earth is limited, and it's like we're not. It's not us that's doing the saving, but we have the command, the obligation to share this good news.
You know what? It's almost our own command. I was kind of thinking about this, like, what am I supposed to do as a Christian? What does it matter? What does it matter most to God? What I do on a daily basis? Avoid sin. Yeah, okay, but what about what does He really want me to do? What's my task? Share the gospel. That's pretty much it. The rest is up to kind of in His hands. Like,
And
and in
exactly.
sharing the gospel, there's all the good works you walk into, of course, yeah, but if that's your mental focus, you're pretty much in the right place. There's really nothing else. He doesn't say go out and cure cancer. He didn't say go out and create global economy or he didn't say bring water to like starving people. He didn't say any of that. He just said, spread my gospel to the ends of the earth, all the language. I mean, I've got the rest.
Now, like I said, now all of those can be
Simple.
asked to share the gospel. Where it's like but if you're what I always share to my students when I'm talking about this, I was like, whatever it is that you're doing, don't necessarily don't just go with the flow. Be different. Not in where it's like where people are like, man, like this person's not stressed out, or this person's always kind of like, what, they're going to church, or they're doing this or that. And it's like, man, I'm really curious, like what's going on with them, because and then you talk to them, it's like, man, why you like that? And there you go. That's an opportunity to share the gospel. You don't necessarily have to go out on a street corner and wave a flag and kind of beat people head with the Bible, but you make the opportunity, you open it up to curiosity, and you'll have people asking you about it all the time, and then and because you're like, oh, I'm so scared it's gonna be like really awkward. Well, in those cases, it's not. It's just a natural thing that happens.
Right. I mean, how much more convincing is the gospel when your life is reflective of the gospel?
Exactly. I talk about it all the time.
People shouldn't have to ask if you're a Christian. If they have to ask if you're a Christian, maybe you're not, doing enough.
People have to ask if you're a Christian. You're doing Christianity
your life
wrong.
reflect the gospel to a point where your words are backed up by actions, and that your life is convincing to them. And like you said, they may even approach you. Hey, Robert, something different about you, man. What's your secret? And you say, you really want to know? That's kind of what my experience has been lately. People are like, man, you seem kind of different, or like, and how are you doing? I'm like, do you really want to know? And then I share, and they say, wow, that's amazing. And I say, yeah. So, like you said, it does just happen naturally if your life is true.
Exactly. And then the second point that I wanted to talk about that you brought up is the idea of a lot more potential for home Bible study, home worship, and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is this is one thing that I always have that I have a problem with the church community at large is we are woefully uneducated on our Bibles. Like there's so many Christians that don't know what the heck is going on in the Bible at all, and they're only dosing.
I can't
Yeah.
lift it.
Yeah, and their only dose of the Bible, ish is on a Sunday morning, and that's like if they show up, and that's just it's not enough. And
Do you eat once a week? I eat more than once a week. I eat every day. I'm sorry, but I could survive if I ate only on Sundays.
yeah, exactly. And it is I haven't been teaching recently with like my new job responsibilities and stuff, but when I was teaching, it's like, man, like these guys, it's not, and part of it's like it's not really their fault too, like completely. It's like their families aren't doing it, like their parents aren't that are going to church. They're not necessarily teaching them the Bible. They're not like wrestling with different ideas and. And I also think too sometimes because I'm always challenging people to like, it's. I'm not saying like don't listen to the pastor, don't listen to so and so. Like these are all good sources. Like, these a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of bad pastors out there, but I would say like at my church, I would say yeah, we have some good pastors there. They know the Bible well, but it's not. You have to do the work yourself. You have to study it yourself. You have to wrestle with these ideas, and your ideas might not necessarily line up with what the Presbyterian church or the Lutheran church or whatever denomination you're a part of, and that's fine. You have to wrestle with that stuff. You have to know why you believe in Jesus Christ, why you're a Christian, and if you don't you can't share the gospel if you don't know what you believe. Because when people ask you, they're not asking like what Pastor so and so says or what the church denomination says. They want to know why you're a believer. And if you can't answer, and you're not going to have every answer, but if you don't even know like the basics of why you're even a Christian, why should they believe?
Right? Doesn't the Bible say you should always be able to give a clear defense and testimony?
Yeah, that's and Peter's epistle. He talks about that. Yes. It's one of my life verses.
Yes, you should always be ready to give a clear defense of why you feel the way you do about God.
Yeah.
What I see in the church is a real lack of desire, like that burning passion. You said you gotta read the word for yourself, and I'm wondering, why don't people want to? Wouldn't you want to? If the love of your life wrote you a letter, wouldn't you want to read it every day?
Man,
That's what I feel. It's the lack of desire. They're not in love with Jesus.
Yeah, and it's crazy for me because obviously like I studied it in its original language. It's like I took 2 years of Greek. I took 2 years of Hebrew.
Awesome.
I took 1 year of Aramaic.
That's
I did all that.
That is incredible.
Well, I shared with you earlier in the week a book that like kind of helped me. What I think it's a good introductory tool into helping people to study the Bible better. And because there's so many, obviously like it always goes back to the Bible, but there's so many great sources, of people who from theologians and church leaders in the past who've wrestled with so much of this stuff, over centuries. And there's so many.
They're like coaches to me in a way,
Yeah.
like or professors. I mean, why the brothers? They're brothers.
Exactly.
They're brothers, and like they've studied and they have that passion and they want to share. I saw a YouTube of a guy that said, "I'm making this video for the people who are here after the rapture, after I'm gone, so they can get saved in the tribulation. I won't be here, but my video will be." Can you imagine that? He's like, "I'm making this for those who will be saved in the tribulation."
Yeah.
I won't be here. That is just crazy.
Yeah. And I study I read theology books for fun because I'm a crazy person. I have I also look into something that helps because obviously the people of that period that were being especially in the historical narratives, those people are all long gone, and that culture in a lot of ways is long gone as well. So you can't just necessarily always directly take out certain passages without you have to kind of go into you can't read your own situation into the Bible. You have to read their situation out into you.
Correct.
And that requires understanding stuff about that time. Now there's people that get stuck with that and like they get stuck in just doing that. But by understanding the history and the situation as to why that book in the Bible exists,
Oh yeah.
that that helps you to tremendously understand like what the heck is going on.
Oh yeah. It
And
will illuminate so much meaning into it.
so
Just bring shed light on the verse, and especially when you get into the different translations of. Well, let's take this word in English. Well, what was the Greek word? What was the Hebrew word? Oh, it's different than when they use branch here than when they use branch there. I see. And like you said, what's the custom that they're referring to? What's the symbolism behind the custom? And yeah, it just sheds so much light when you study. Look, thank
yeah,
God
exactly.
for His grace to give us these intellectual minds, Robert. Not everybody's blessed like this, but
Yeah. And I'm not saying that like every Christian needs to do exactly like I do, because like I said, I'm a crazy person. Andy attests to this. I'm a crazy person. Uh,
Pretty much.
um, but yeah, but I think it's like there's good like simplistic not like books that aren't too complicated that help give you kind of like a kind of like a just a gentle nudge, and it's
yeah.
like, oh, that's what Paul meant when he was talking about this. Oh, that's what Jesus meant when he was saying this. And yeah, there's no shame in grabbing onto those footholds that these spiritual giants have left for us to take a look
Yeah.
at. Now,
Darn
obviously,
right.
like you can't those that can't become scripture. Your scripture. Yeah, it always has to go back to the Bible. But don't be afraid to grab onto the handhold. We're sitting on the shoulders of spiritual giants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's meant to be shared and to be built upon. It's like the body of Christ building and building and building. Yeah. But
But I'm gonna well, after we're done, I'll share with you a few books that I think are actually really good that I think you might be interested in to take a look at.
sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Uh, you know, it leads me to a topic that I've been wrestling with. Uh, like false teachers and divisions and controversies over different types of faith expressions, like, for example, Bethel Church and some real charismatics. And there's a lot of judgment going around, brother against brother, on that. And I think I've changed my heart a little on that. I used to feel like it would be very important to get really into it and make sure everybody's doing the right thing, but I'm backing up on that. I'm having
Well,
I'm having more of a heart of tolerance and a little bit of a heart of trying to maybe, I don't know how to say it, but trying to see if I can see the method or the truth in some of these fringe expressions before I want to just call them out. But it leads me to just want to learn more and study more. And,
and I think this kind of goes back to what I talk about. It's like you have to know why you believe what you believe, and if you're like, because I have my trust me, I have a lot of issues with a lot of you know elements of Christianity in a lot of ways. Not necessarily the about Christ, but I've had my issues with the church in general,
mhm.
which is I've had to overcome quite a bit in that sense. Um, I think that there are ways that I'm uncomfortable in how things are expressed. I'm not a charismatic in that way, but I like I said, but I'm not closed off because I'm not saying that God doesn't work that way but I like there's reasons as to why I don't necessarily think that happens on a regular scale, especially here in the West, and there's good reasoning behind that. And but like unless it's something that's blatantly like just this is terrible theology and it's dangerous theology, that's when I
Right.
like, yeah, we're gonna stop this. It's either like I have to leave this church because it's dangerous, or I have to like, it's this is where I'm willing to fight on. I'm willing to die on this hill because, as a pastor and a leader, if you're committing that sin or you're allowing it to happen, you're killing people, literally.
Sure. I agree. But I'm also starting to see the danger in dividing against brothers that shouldn't be divided against. Or when you contra a brother, I think you got to be pretty sure, or
There's a
damaging. But
I think there's a difference between because there's always going to be theological differences because even though let's say we're both at a Presbyterian church, I guarantee there's going to be elements of our theology that's going to be different, and
sure.
Ultimately the most important thing that's a non-negotiable is what do you believe about the gospel message? Do you believe that Christ died on the cross, that he rose again 3 days later, that he died for your sins,
Right.
and that in him we rise with him and we are new creation?
Yeah, those are the non-negotiables.
Yeah, if you believe that, then it's not like some Gnosticism or some other kind of fluky thing where oh well Christ, it was they don't understand the idea of the God man. That's when okay, yeah, that's something I have to fight against. But if let's say oh well I'm not really sure their worship practices might be a little bit different, or well infant baptism, I don't know, I believe in it and it makes sense to me. It's I'm not gonna go crazy about that. No, I mean, I definitely would have some my own thoughts and beliefs on that, but I'm not gonna be well, we need to split up the church because this just can't happen.
Yeah, that's a foolish way to reason. I agree. But no, it's quite interesting what's going on. Apparently, Iran is a one of the fastest churches or Christian communities, and then you see what's going on in China with the Christians going there too. But I mean, God is working. I'm very comfortable with the timeline. I'm very confident in what's going on. I know the end is not tomorrow, but it almost doesn't even matter. There are certain things that just don't even really matter. But
Me, I honestly, Matt, I'm always checking my watch. It's all right, man, I'm ready to go. It's it's for me, but at the same time, I know I still have a lot of work to do. So however long that is,
yeah.
it's I'll be here doing it. But hey,
Yeah, we're kind of torn.
great.
Paul was kind of torn. Paul's like, if I go with Christ, that's great. But if I stay here, I get to do more work. So I don't really know where I want to go. I mean, either way is cool with me. I'm happy here, happy there. Yeah.
But Andy, you have anything to interject or any thoughts of your own or?
No, I know when you two guys get together, it's just this flurry of theology, and it's just I'm just
Maybe I'll tell Robert the story of Ginny's prophecy. Robert, we have a sister in our church named Ginny, and she's been described as a prayer warrior, and she's very very spirit filled.
Yes.
Around my memory is certainly wrong. Around mid-January or something like that, she did a prayer before her sermon where she described that she was maybe in the morning when she's washing her face, brushing her teeth. She suddenly just had this vision of all of us at church. We were at the beach, and everybody was sort of playing in their own ways. And half the group were over here making sandcastles, very elaborate sandcastles, and putting all their efforts into them and putting their hands on them and being very proud of the works that they were building. And the other half of of the brothers and sisters were just in the ocean, playing, rolling around the sand, enjoying the sun and the surf. Well, suddenly, out of nowhere, a big wave came and washed away all the sandcastles. And all the people that had worked on the sandcastles so hard, they were all devastated. They were devastated because everything they'd put all their hands into, all their hard work into, had just been washed away in a moment. But the other half of the people were just continued to play in the surf like nothing had happened. And we're just enjoying God's creation. That blew my mind when I made the connection of what's going on now. Here comes coronavirus, big wave, and it washed away all the material things and material structures and businesses that people put all their efforts into. And people are right now being devastated because of what they've lost materially. But there's some of us that are thriving. I don't know what to say, but that's quite a prophecy, if you ask me. For her to say that before
Right. I forgot about that.
She came and said just a wave came and washed away. I mean, it's quite prophetic, and I see it now. And I see a lot of people who were hoarding toilet paper or freaking out. Those people are afraid to die. They're not ready with God. They're afraid to die. They're selfish, and they're freaking out.
Right. Because they have no reward. I think there's no. This is all that they have. And it's a little sad. When I go out, when I go to the store or whatever, I'm genuinely happy and I am genuinely unafraid of what's going on around me, and just like I remember just this past Friday I went to the store in the morning and there's like people and they had their masks on, and I went in without a mask, and I was just like, and I was like smiling. I just smiled like the whole time. I was just like, hey, how's it going? I was saying hi to people. I know I'm like, yeah, of all people, I'm an Asian without a mask, which is kind of unheard of.
But see, Andy, all you have to do is just lift up your hand. Are you really going to tell me to wear a mask?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hilarious to me that people are freaking out. They're wearing masks or gloves, and with the hand sanitizer.
Have you seen the pictures that are coming out of people that have like dressed up to go to the store, like wrapped?
Oh, like full body condoms, essentially.
Yeah. But like made from home goods, like whatever they found in the house, like shower curtains.
Yeah. Like dishwashing gloves and maybe a scarf and like goggles or something.
I might go with like a scuba gear or something just to see how people react.
Yeah, like a snorkel.
Maybe a snorkel with a cotton ball in the top,
Yeah, as a filter. Yeah.
That'd be funny.
But I'm trying to show, that it doesn't like I'm trying to show that there's another way to live. You don't have to be, all like, cortisol-y and filled with fear and anxiety and just like, living on the knife's edge. So as I'm casually, strolling through the market, just waving hi to people and smiling and, just asking them how their day is, and just they must think that I'm a crazy person.
Well, maybe they'll ask you what's your secret, and you can tell them about Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just last week I have this small group with a couple of brothers from church, and we're reading this book that's kind of going through the book of Acts. And at the end of the chapter, there's always these reflection questions, and one of the questions is, what are you doing to like share the gospel, or to kind of demonstrate that you're somehow set apart. And because because the nature of my work, I don't really have all that much interaction with people. And even in my new job, it's I really don't like have that much interaction. But one of the ways is through my art, which is primarily through photography, and on my Instagram page, a lot of the pictures that I take, I title them Bible verses. And so, I do that, and so people, I hope that it intrigues people enough to actually go and look up what that particular verse is. So
Oh, oh, I know. I see the eye. You're talking about the eye of God and the cloud looking
Yeah,
at eye. Yeah, no, I love it.
it's a brilliant. I like that Andy does that. It's like wow, he knows what's going on,
It's
and
like a secret there. Like, yeah, it's like a fortune
yeah, it's
cookie.
like
It's like, oh, what is it? What is it? I want
yeah,
to look
I
it up, and
bake.
and then I look at the picture, look at the verse, look at the picture, look at the verse, and then you see it. It's cool.
Right, I dig a hole, I cover it with leaves, and I just let people fall in.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I
he,
mean,
he tricks people into spiritual enlightenment.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, yeah, it's because I'm sure people have, had the experience of like, the preacher like screaming in their face that they're, going to hell and fire, hellfire and brimstone. And I'm sure, I'm sure that they've had like the opposite too, where it's like, they have like this really light and kind of non-threatening kind of pastors talking about love and just acceptance, and it just both extremes are kind of, I think, rather off-putting. And so, what I try to do is just I just try to live my life. What was that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh well, so yeah, what I try to do is just try to reflect Jesus as much as possible, in my dirty, broken mirror of myself.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and one of the ways is just to show them that that my life is different, that my path is a different one. It's not always easy, but but I always have a smile on my face, regardless. And sometimes it's easier. It's easier, you know. Uh, what is it? Instead of spending 3 days stalking and trying to go for the kill, why dig a hole and and set a trap.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. I think all those different ways are. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to to spread the gospel. I mean, there is, but I think all those different methods, maybe there's they catch different people in different ways. It's like a wide net. Maybe
That's true.
someone's going to be saved by that brimstone message. Maybe someone will be saved by that fluffy message. I didn't really get saved by a fluffy message. I was at a church 10 years ago, and the sermons were fluffy. Everything was fluffy, and it didn't sink in. I don't know. It allowed me to have a space of disobedience. You know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a fire and brimstone, a real a sermon of shame that really convicted me. It was like a John Piper sermon about being
Right.
in front of the Lamb and the Father and being ashamed, and it was just turned my stomach, and I just never
Right. I
wanted to be
remember
there.
you. Yeah, you told me this story. I think, we were together having lunch, and it was just. I think it was recently that it happened to you, and like you know, I guess kind of like your second conversion. But
Mm-hmm.
you told me the story like where you just like kind of woke up one day or one night or in the middle of the night, and just happened to listen to John Piper, and it was talking about Revelation, and
Yeah,
about the
the
about judgment.
Revelation chapter 19.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was at a time where I was really into that political stuff, and I was listening to a lot of political podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, all that kind of stuff. And I was listening to that stuff sometimes, like when I couldn't sleep, just in my ear. And one morning, about 6 a.m., I woke up when I would usually put on some kind of podcast to go back to sleep, and I thought, nah, John, something just woke me up, and it just put the name in my mind, John Piper. I'm like, I remember that name. That's legit. Okay. So I typed in my Apple podcast, John Piper, and I just clicked whatever episode, and it saved me. I was the same since. And it was a sermon about Revelations chapter 19 and the Lamb who's worthy, and just the shame that I would feel if I turned against him. And I couldn't live with that.
Right. I think we just have to be sensitive to kind of the spheres of influence that we have. And I know a lot of well, a lot of the people that I know that they've had like kind of those extreme experiences where it's like either fire and brimstone or like very fluffy, and so I think what they needed is something balanced. It's like I'm talking about something very severe, like where you're gonna end up in eternity. But I'm also offering tolerance and acceptance, and and I'm bringing those two precepts to the middle, and I think that's where my tactic of just kind of allowing people to just witness me and how I live my life and my demeanor, then also allowing people to just kind of baiting people into investigating the gospel for themselves.
I like it.
Well, it's funny because, and I feel like I've shared this. I don't know if I shared it on this podcast at some point. I've shared it so many times I kind of lose track. But when for me, I feel like it was it was different. It wasn't like a fire and brimstone message. It wasn't a kind of uh, the the wealth gospel, prosperity gospel guys. Like none of that got me. I went when, and I didn't grow up in the church, obviously. But I got to like 13, 14 years old, and for me, it was more like there's something more than just what's here. Like, and I didn't know why I came to that. Like, it was just something I was thinking about. It's like there has to be something more than like because what's the point of doing all this stuff if we're just dead? It's like what's the point of it? And that's kind of got me going on that journey, kind of looking. And people shared with me like stuff about Buddhism and all this other stuff, and I was like, and I didn't say this to their face, but I was like, yeah, that's a bunch of not necessarily the cleanest language, but it's a bunch of BS. Like that doesn't make any sense. For me, because it's like, but I could see reality. It's like because a lot of this stuff is about like, oh, you have to become this, and like it's you're finding perfection. I was like, yeah, well, I suck. So that's not gonna happen. Yeah, and it's like honestly, most of humanity. And when I heard the gospel for the first time, I was like, it's just like that, the light bulb turned on. It's like, if that's real, if that's who God is. That's it right there. Because there's nothing that we could, we're messed up. There's nothing that we can do to gain anything back. But God cares enough that He, made a way for us, and it's kind of almost like, if we just accept it, He almost like rips us into like this new existence, and that we have a chance at we gain kind of this journey back to how it was meant to be, like what God intended. And it's like that. It just makes so much sense. And the more I study, the more I dive into this stuff. It's like it just wow. This is real. And not only is it's not just some philosophy or some spiritual cosmic debris. No, this is we have history. We have all this stuff to back this stuff up. This isn't just some some crap. It's reality.
It's not crap. It's probably the most substantial thing, evidentiary proof thing that there exists in human history.
And they're finding more and more proof every day. The archaeological discoveries are just mesmerizing. It's like for a long time, people, a lot of the experts laughed like, "Oh, King David's so fake. Like that guy never existed." Then all of a sudden they find King David's stuff. Oh crap! This guy did exist, and that was 1994, I believe they made that discovery. Yeah. Or you find like obviously the greatest discovery, in kind of church history was the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's where a lot of the textual experts are like, now we're going to see how much it has been manipulated and changed over time,
right?
With 99% accuracy. It's like the only reason is like there's scribal errors, like where it's like, oh, instead of 10 it was 100. It's not like
the comma was out of place.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that, and it's like that's incredible.
But one of the most clear books that is preserved there was like stuff from Daniel, stuff that prophesied of Jesus, the Messiah. So it wasn't only just some books of the Bible; it was like some very important parts of the Bible.
Not only did it preserve so much of the Bible and showing how accurate that these scribes took such great care in passing, until obviously we got the printing press, like they had to copy this by hand, and if they messed up like enough, they burned the thing and they started over, because they knew that if you leave those mistakes, it's gonna screw the whole thing up, and it's gonna become this weird thing, a telephone.
It's like this. If you could do a study on all the things that people truly believe in without a question, and compare the documentation of that based on the Bible, you would point out to them that they believe a lot of stuff that isn't even as solid as the Bible. They just take it for truth. I mean, I can't give you the list, but it's long. I mean, they just don't do the homework. They're almost not even. It's not even worth arguing with some people that just don't even put in the time.
Oh, it's pearls before swine. Like it's like, I love to share stuff because, man, people say, I don't know, like, because like I said, this comes back to not reading your Bible, not doing any sort of investigation for yourself, and because even as a Christian, let's say you grew up in a Christian home, you go to church every week, but like you don't actually do any sort of study for yourself. You're not. You don't really believe it.
No, you're not really going anywhere.
Yeah, it's like, oh, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just going to say that when I became a believer, I had been, training jiu-jitsu for a long, long time, and it was very easy for me to put that mindset of training, learning techniques and training and putting time in and building and building and building, and that you don't get anywhere unless you put the time in. It was very similar, and when you put the time in, you grow and you get better. It's the jiu-jitsu model, or any kind of athletic model of putting time in and getting better and better. It's how could you get better at basketball if you play just once a week for an hour? You're not gonna. But if you played every day, a couple hours a day, studied some techniques, did some training, tried some new stuff, practice, oh my gosh, you're gonna be killing them. That's what it's like. It's not much different. But you touched on something, Robert, that's very interesting that another brother raised up recently about, Christianity. They people always focus on, salvation, gets saved, and then like they kind of end there. Like, I'm saved. Well, saved for what? Saved why? And then you mentioned something about going back to back to the beginning of why were we created before the fall? We weren't created for a fall. We were created. What's that perfective state? What's that perfection that we were created in before sin entered? What was our destiny? What was our purpose? Why were we there? And so I would like people to go past salvation and go to the next level of getting back to God, to the original reason we were created for, to be family with
Salvation
Him.
isn't the point where you kick your feet up and it's like, all right, work's done. Boom, we're done. Let's go.
That's like getting hired at a job and then just not working. I'm hired. Woo!
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, now
Oh,
you
yeah,
gotta load this.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
I
It's,
thought
yeah,
just
that's a
got
really good
hired,
analogy.
like the paycheck. No, I gotta work.
Like, no, like now you have to go and do work. It's like, but I got hired. It's like, yeah, to do a job. And I mean, and I think that's what I think. I think that's the reality that we have to, I think, as believers. What is it? Put out there more, because it's like, oh yeah, you get to go to, it's like, you get to go to heaven. It's like, yeah, that's your retirement, but you have to work, at being a Christian, like work at being a Christian until that time.
Well, this concept came to me recently as I'm studying. Look, this is kind of cool for you guys because I'm like a new believer. So like as I'm studying and learning some things that are stumbling upon me and like new and fresh to me, it's been known to you for years. But shoot, I forget what I was gonna say. But you gotta give me a prompt, Andy. I forgot what I was gonna say. Something like sorry.
New concept, something that we as Christians for a long time might have been very familiar with.
Yeah, no, I
maybe I might be going in the wrong direction, but like one of the one of the things that people are like, oh well, are we saved by faith or by works? And it's like, and the argument is kind of not a good argument because obviously they're taking stuff from what Paul talks about like in Romans and some of his other epistles as opposed to James and his epistle. And in reality, not only are they talking to two different audiences, but and that changes like the whole concept of what they're doing. Paul is talking to a group of non-believers saying it's like there's nothing that you can do to earn your salvation. Like it is through faith in Jesus Christ and the gospel message. Very true. It is. There's nothing that you can do outside of accepting the gospel that's going to bring you to salvation. That's the only way. There's no other way.
I've kind of used that line, that verse a little bit in sharing gospel with some people because I like the fact that it's because so no man can boast. I love that. And non-believers really they respond to that because nobody likes a braggart. Everybody knows what it's like to be around a braggart who's boasting about how great he is. So when you tell them, no, it's like grace alone. It's not about works because no man can brag. And they go, oh, I like that. It's a great icebreaker. I really think that concept of showing people that.
Now, when it comes to James is talking to a Christian community, and where where it's like you can't rely just on your faith. Like that's great that you have faith, but you have to be able. It's kind of the idea of like what are we doing to entice people towards the gospel? If we're just sitting there like in our ivory towers and saying, "Great, I'm saved," you're not really contributing to the Christian community at all. But when you go out and you do the work, whatever that is, are you washing dishes? Are you going out to some Fortune 500 company? Or are you like me, like where you're helping ship out packages? But like if what you're doing is not helping towards getting people curious about like where you're shining a light and you're not creating opportunities to share the gospel, you've done nothing, and your faith is useless. You've done nothing with it.
You failed at your task. I now remember what I was going to say before. The concept of being an ambassador of Christ. And what does it mean to be an ambassador? An ambassador is a representative of a kingdom or a nation in a foreign nation. So if I'm an ambassador, I'm in a foreign nation representing my kingdom afar. And I have all the support and all the power of that kingdom as I'm representing him. So if our kingdom is in heaven with Lord Jesus, King Jesus, we are here on earth as ambassadors. And we have all the power and the authority of our king, but we have a mission, we have a job. So we are working as ambassadors to reflect and present the kingdom.
Right.
So I think that's just really mind-blowing. You know, that it's pretty clear. Like we are tasked, we are hired, we are working for Christ, we're working for the King. We are here as his representatives in a foreign country, in a foreign land. You know, we're not in our home, right? If our home is in heaven with King Jesus, we're not in our home now. We are on foreign land. And we're representing our king, so we are ambassadors. We've been appointed. Ambassadors are appointed by the king. So we've been appointed by the king as ambassadors in this foreign land to represent him and to uphold and his will, to execute his will of our king. So it's mind-blowing. But you know what I want to say also about this, and back to about grace. Looking back on my own testimony and the way I was saved, I couldn't possibly have done it myself. I couldn't have possibly have aligned the stars and aligned the circumstances and the things that built up to finally just cause me to run into his arms. It would take a whole nother hour to talk about this because it has to do with like abortion and a Facebook argument and the building up of this and this and that and this and that. And it was just like, ah! And I wanted to fight for Jesus. And I've just never been the same since. And it wasn't just Matthew Wade's mind. It was God just saying it's time. He touched me and he said, it's time. Get to go. Let's go. 10 hut. Just like when he comes, like a shout. It's gonna be a shout like, yo, hey, like heads up, all Christians, 10 hut. It's gonna be like that. And we're gonna be like, it's King Jesus. It's gonna be like,
Yeah.
and we're gonna know, and we're all gonna be like, yes, sir. Fall in line. We're not gonna be like, oh, what is that? Oh. Many will, but we won't. We will know what it is. That's what I love about this, is that he gives you the words. You'll know. You'll know. This is not really. It's a mystery, but the most important things are not mysterious. The most important things have been very clear. He said, I've told you these things in advance, so you will know.
Yeah. Like I said, help through the dang wizardry that's out there.
Yeah. I often pray for wisdom and discernment. It's like a daily prayer because I just don't want to get caught up in the BS. I want to have God's eyes and I want to know His will, and you got to pray for it. It doesn't come from you. So.
Well, I will definitely have to have you on to talk about your testimony because I can tell you're itching to tell it, and I know it's going to be a great story to listen to. So we'll have you back on again to talk about that. But man, I'm just so excited. I can tell you it's been a rough week.
Yeah.
And to talk to you, especially talking about something that is a huge passion of mine, which is Bible, and obviously in Christ. I'm back to I got a lot of confidence back. I'm recharged. And so it was great to have you on to talk about this stuff, Matt.
Well, it's a blessing to me if it can be like a fountain of fresh water for anybody. I mean, my cup is overflowing, so I'm here, man. I'm very, very happy. So I'm happy that we are connecting as brothers. I'm happy that we're having a fellowship together, even though we're not, we're in this time, we're still fellowshipping face to face.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. It's very cool. God is unstoppable.
Definitely.
And He equips His
Amen.
children with many blessings. So yeah, I'm very happy, guys. I don't even know what to say. So just there, as far as saving people and professing the gospel, we do our best and we reflect it, and then the Holy Spirit does what He does, and some catch on and some don't. I mean, maybe someday we could have a discussion about like predestination and that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Wrestle
that,
with
Oh,
that.
jeez. Guys,
Yeah.
you just made Robert's day. You just made Robert's day right now.
now you're speaking my language. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not so sure where I fall on that. Like it's hard to not think that I couldn't done a lot of. I didn't do much. I didn't do most of this.
This is where my my Greek comes out, and so
Yeah.
we can
And you know
definitely.
what, Robert? You were saying something about this earlier, but I felt like this too. Even though I got saved like less than a year ago, I felt there's always been something inside me, and I just didn't know what it was. And now I know. This was always in me. Always, always in me. I just
Yeah.
didn't know what it was. I didn't know it by name. It hadn't been activated,
Yeah.
And then when it became activated, my whole life just fell into place. Everything of my whole life just suddenly made sense. Everything. All my past, everything. So it's mind blowing. But you know what? I can't tell people go out and do it because I don't know if it works that way. I mean, if you feel that if you're watching this video and you're compelled to search for God and to read the Bible and to get into Scripture, then you are meant to watch this and you're meant to hear this message and you're meant to be confirmed that that is what you should be doing, and we love you and go for it. But God is working in ways that we can't always understand. So we're here and we're brothers and we're loving each other and we're loving you, whoever you are out there. And if this video gets watched after we're snatched up, even let your heads be taken off, guys. We'll see you up there. You'll get white robes and a palm branch and all that. It'll be cool. So.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. Like, we don't talk about these things because we think we're better than anyone else. It's on the contrary. We know we're not better than anyone. We're just as lowly as anyone else. And we're not the ones that, like, we're not doing the saving. All we can do is share, what we know, the good news that we know, how it's affected us, and that's all we can do. Like, the rest is really up to you.
Yeah, I mean, look at Peter. He was there with Jesus, and he failed quite miserably a few times.
Yeah.
But it all worked out in the end for him. It all came together. It all kind of he digested it, and it all made sense. But there were some times where he would look like a real idiot. But
Oh yeah.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? And that's just more to God's glory that He uses the weak to shame the strong. That's the whole point.
Where He uses the fool to shame the wise.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I see that a lot. It's great.
I see a lot of that going on right now with this whole Corona thing. People thought they knew what they had, or they knew what they could control, or what power they had, and they realized they don't. So.
Well, all right. Matt, we're definitely gonna have to have you back on. You know me. I'm a theology nerd, so anytime you want to talk about this stuff, you let me know.
Dude, you just opened the floodgate. I'm new, but I'm loving it, man. I'm a sponge. I'm so
All right.
I'm loving
But
it.
I am gonna share some books with you, like after we finish this up, because there's stuff I think you should check out. Definitely stuff that's gonna change your life.
Sure, absolutely. No, I think all the study that brothers are doing is meant to be shared and meant to help us grow and meant to help illuminate the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll call it here. Matt, thanks so much for coming on. For shining some hope and light into our lives, into the audience's lives. And yeah, I'm very thankful that you came on.
Oh yeah, not to mention the fact Corona means crown, king, crown. People, do you not see the symbolism here? So It's all good. He's got it. You know.
All right.
He's got
For those of you,
in his
for
hands.
yeah,
Don't fear the crown.
yeah. But for those of you who that's the episode. For those of you who are looking for more Circle of Jerks content, we got a whole slew of episodes from the main podcast, and obviously we're going to be having a whole bunch of these remote ones for hopefully for not too much longer. But who knows? We'll deal with it as we have to. And
Maybe next week.
yeah, go ahead.
Next week we'll do like this.
Exactly. So yeah, go ahead and check out those. Tuesday night, Andy and me. If you can't get enough of Andy and myself, we do a little live stream called Nocturnal Transmissions. Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock ish, Pacific Standard Time. We talk about whatever's kind of going on in the news, whatever kind of floats our boat. We do movie reviews. It is what it is. We have a lot of fun. We encourage you to join us. If you like old school gaming, you can check out Up by Up Down. I got some more stuff that I'm working on for that, but it's gonna have to wait till after this whole virus issue is over with. And if you want to talk to us on social media, our Twitter is at Podcast COJ, Instagram Circle of Jerks Podcast, and if you are just kind of wanting a little bit of a sneak peek into what our movie reviews are like, Letterboxd at Podcast COJ. So come on down, take a look, interact with us, whatever you need, and we're here to serve you during this pandemic craziness.
All right, take care, everyone. Stay safe.
You too, Matt.
Deuces.
See you, Andy.